So we'll start with Frederick for this one. As the party is, or rather, at the end of Falcon's Hollow, as Frederick and friends are being teleported, Kathy turns towards Frederick and says, I know someone down in Cheliax who might be able to help you with that arm problem of yours. He's got a very unorthodox method of doing things, but if you're tight on cash, I think he might be able to fix you right up. If you're interested, sounds promising. Are you interested? I'll take the offer. The android beams with a smile and bends over the unicorn, whispering something in the equine's ear, and placed a hand on Frederick. With a knowing nod, the unicorn let out a puff of pink and blue magic, blinding Frederick for a short second and knocking Raza clean out. When he opened his eyes, both the unicorn and Raza were gone, and Fred found himself standing at the base of a very impressive looking castle indeed. It appeared to be made of molten rock and was coated in a clean, shining coating of white and grayish obsidian. Above him, gray clouds gathered, pierced by the screeching sounds of nightly riders patrolling around the area castle and riding griffins. As Fred looked around the structure, Kathy began to lead him inside. Uh, this is Citadel Domain, she spoke. Headquarters of the Hell Knight Order of the Scourge, and it's where I've been spending the last, well, 1/5 of my life. You guys definitely have a way with presentation. She smiled. Oh, you just wait till you see inside. This is just the outer defenses. Kathy led Fred forward into the keep. They passed by no less than 3 different moats, a literal army of black armored knights, a handful of paladins washing their war horses, and even a few fiendish imps flying overhead. Uh, this entire place might look like a prison because it is, sort of, spoke Kathy. The Order of the Scourge is an order of police, bounty hunters, and anti-corruption. We hunt criminals, whoever the crime. As a result, you'd be surprised the sort of people you meet here, all the way from Assyrian to the lower plains. Sounds like a big armed happy family you got here. Oh, absolutely, she says, almost blushing on her metal skin. I'll admit, I still do miss some Mako, Balder, and Tarek back in Sandpoint. Balder especially, and don't laugh if this sounds weird, I just like how organized everything is. Just enjoyment from seeing all the books lined up in a row, or when things perfectly line up on a desk. I understand it might look very weird to an outsider, but given the name, but Hell Knights are generally a good group of people. It's all very organized and very focused on its goals. Kathy led Frederick beyond the main gate before turning suddenly to a side door to his right. See, watch this. Kathy looked at the nondescript wooden door in front of her and spoke. Workshop. As she touched the doorknob, it glowed slightly, and she opened the door. The door in front of her suddenly appearing to lead into a well-used workshop. What the hell kind of door is this? She blinked. Not a door at all. It's a portal. Just say where you want to go and you'll end up there. It's very organized. Sounds pretty handy for a place like this. Very. Kathy led him inside the workshop where things got a bit anarchistic. Beyond the portal, Fred saw alchemical displays full of potion bottles, boxes of various supplies, magical weapons, barrels of gunpowder, and a number of other fantastic items that his mind could only dream of what they do, including a blast of lightning that seemed to originate from the center of the chamber. Frederick whistled. I guess this is where the magic happens. Before long, the source of said lighting became apparent as another android walked into view, this one looking much more artificial than Kathy, seemingly not even attempting to look human. This android was dressed in a leather coat, had a number of belts and buckles around his waist. In his hand, he held some sort of strange wand. As behind him, you heard a click, 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 as something walks into view behind him. The mechanical person looked at Fred and back to Kathy. The two of them stared at each other for a good 2 to 3 seconds before Kathy responded, but could we swap to common for now? His name's Friend Synax, And I think he's willing. At this point, the second mechanical person broke his gaze with Gaffy before turning to Fred. Good day, human. My name is Synax. I understand you are in need of some replacement parts. Frederick motioned to his missing left arm. Yeah, I'm willing to see what you can do about this. Indeed. I've been working on a mixture that should be able to do exactly that. I've been asking the lictor to find me a test subject for a while now. It appears Kathy has succeeded where even my superior has failed. He turned to Kathy. You might just earn yourself a promotion yet, Armiger. Kathy nodded as Synax turned around to his desk and began mixing together a vial that seemed to smell like a mixture of motor oil, gasoline, and fruit punch. I assure you, human, spoke the android, this is unlikely to kill you, but it will grow back your arm. Or, well, I suppose grow is a subjective term, but it should augment you. Subjective term? The robot retrieved a bottle and poured what looked to be pepper into the mixture, causing it to change color. Grow is a biological term. What I have been working on is transhumanist neutrino surge-proof chemical augmentation compound fixed with 4 parts per million subjugation of anti-goo nanobots that should ideally prove active enough to replace your faulty flesh rubidium limiter. Makes sense. Frederick gave him a somewhat understanding look. I think I get the gist. Synax raised an eyebrow as he finished mixing up the potion, before handing Frederick a test tube filled with, apparently, crystal clear water. I'm surprised, he responds, because I was just trying to fuck with you. It should regrow your arm, or turn you into a horrible abomination, but regrowth of the arm is definitely more likely. Alright, Doc, do your thing. The robot pointed the potion in his hand. Drink. Frederick shotgunned it. For the first 5-10 seconds, nothing happened. A moment later, Fred suddenly felt agonizing pain as his stomach literally exploded, spraying acid all over his internal organs and releasing a horde of what felt like tiny miniature robot spiders around him. He rolls a 24 to remain awake. So despite the excruciating pain, he remained awake as he felt tiny spiders crawling across his organs. He felt pain in places he had never felt before, and he felt more tiny robots manifesting themselves inside of him. And for a moment, it felt like the end. Yet, as this happened, the robots seemed to get smaller. The little pinpricks he felt all over his body seemed to get less and less noticeable, before he could hardly feel them at all, even as they multiplied. It felt less like pinpricks and more like ASMR. But like all over his body, the pain slowly stopped, and then he felt relief in the most unexpected places. He felt all of his finger joints crack at once, releasing pressure. He felt the crink in his neck that had been there for a few years gone. His vision began to clear as he was suddenly able to see further and with more clarity than ever before. He felt his stomach began to rebuild itself, this time larger and more efficient. He felt his bones being reinforced by millions of tiny robotic spiders, even as his bloodstream was being optimized. Finally, very slowly, he saw hundreds of millions of them pour out onto his arm, incorporating their tiny bodies into a mechanical arm that began to manifest slowly, as if it was being 3D printed directly onto his arm stub. Synax looked at Fred, his face turning from worry to confusion, but now to pure joy. The android jumped up into the air like the mad scientist he was. Yes, he cried. Yes, it works. Frederick began breathing heavily. He moved his new fingers and moved his new joints. He felt himself breathing deeper and with more efficiency than ever before. To his surprise, his arm moved just as good and perhaps even more slightly agile than his fleshy one. Kathy looked toward Fred, and without moving her mouth, Frederick felt something inside of his mind. It felt weird at first, like someone was reading him a book upside down, or on a nearly endless stream of numbers, but the swarm of ASMR inside of him appeared to intercept this stream of numbers and suddenly he felt Kathy's voice inside of his own head. Hello? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Did it work? Frederick thinks to himself. Who the hell is this? Oh, it's me, Kathy. This is called binary. It's a way to talk with, well, others like us. It's much faster to just send what you're thinking to other people rather than needing to use your voice and send information through sound waves. Frederick thought to himself. Sounds handy. Does this work with anyone of your kind? Not sure. Currently, it works on most Androids, and Synax says we can interact via something called Bluetooth with pretty much anything from Numidia. Haven't tried it on a golem or something yet. Anywho, welcome to the club. Sorry if I wasn't entirely honest with what Synax was up to, but he's been asking me to find people for his augmented humanoids idea for a few weeks now, and, well, I thought since you needed an arm, win-win. Frederick, in his head, I got more than I bargained for, but it works, and I'm no longer unarmed. Well, I actually had another reason for bringing you here, actually, beamed Kathy. You seem like a very capable person, and you have your priorities straight, especially with those kids we tried to save. I was wondering if you'd be interested in joining the Order of the Scourge, or at least hearing more about it. And then Frederick and Kathy began talking about the Order of the Scourge. And that's where we ended that plot line.